I'm Not Much 23,
And I'm ChoasAssassin.
and
And
this
this
is
is
Gamer
Gamer
Experience.
Experience. Now, we're finally able to do an in-person recording again after how long?
About half a year or so, at least.
Yeah, been a while. Life's been really hectic for both of us past couple weeks since our last recording. Shit, even the last recording, I had to leave to help a friend out, and so it's been really hectic.
Yeah, I'm sure it has been.
With work and life and the holiday season coming up here soon. Just all sorts of fun.
Yeah. Of course, this was supposed to be Character Stories 4, but, I ran out of character stories, and
Surprisingly, I don't have enough to fill the full episode. It's why we need you, the viewers, to send us some of your stories, send us ideas, send us things that we can talk and just tell some of your stories. Even if you don't think it's gonna be good, we'll still read it and give emphasis on, for instance, there was the one person, I forget who they were. They were one of the first viewers to send us a story, and in their campaign, they basically pulled a Vern's Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of, and that was their campaign. I love the idea. Next scenario I do, I'm gonna be adding that. So even if you don't think your stories are good, send us ideas, and maybe I'll end up having a story that's inspired by an idea or something that y'all have gone through, and I will give y'all credit. I enjoy hearing what other people think about.
me too. And you can go ahead and send those to gamerexperience@gmail.com, spelled the same way as the podcast, all lowercase, or at Gamerexperience on the X formerly known as Twitter.
Wait, did that actually go through? It's no longer Twitter?
It's no longer Twitter, it's X.
So do we not have a Twitter handle? Is it just our X handle now?
Yeah, guess it is.
I feel like we should find somebody with the handle of men. That way they're the X men.
Uh
What do you expect? I got to make some sort of joke.
oh, and that listener was Herbert Allen the Third.
Oh, thank you. We remember our listeners, and by we I mean not much does, because I can barely remember to keep my head attached half the time. Amazing how I can remember all my character stories, but I can't remember my own head sometimes.
Yeah.
It's amazing how things like that happen. I believe today we agreed just gonna be kind of a bullshit episode where we just sit talk about things that are going on in gaming and stuff, right?
I mean, we did it before.
What that was our leap of faith episode, which is what in our first season was it like the fourth or fifth episode?
I think it was the seventh.
Really that late that we did a leap of faith?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, if we did it the seventh, isn't wouldn't this be like the seventh or eighth episode for this season?
I believe so.
Wow. Talk about funny. Just make that kind of a thing like the seventh or eighth episode, just a one where I'm allowed to just fully ramble on.
Of course, that's also the title of a Led Zeppelin song.
Let me ramble on?
No, Ramble On.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wasn't really big into Led Zeppelin. I mean, I like a chunk of his music, but I couldn't tell you any of his songs by name.
I actually have a controversial take on Led Zeppelin.
Oh,
They made one great song, like two or three good ones, but the rest are bah.
so you're thinking Led Zeppelin was a one-hit wonder kind of group?
Not a one hit wonder. As far as I'm concerned, Stairway to Heaven is their only great song.
I think that's most notable, but what about I believe one of your favorite bands? I believe the only one anybody knows is Tom Sawyer.
Oh, Rush. No. Again, it's a matter of taste. I don't
Yeah,
really like Led Zeppelin, but I love Rush.
yeah. But only song I can ever think of by either of them is Tom Sawyer and Stairway to Heaven.
Let's see, Led Zeppelin, Black Dog's pretty good. Been a long time's good. I don't. Ramble On's one of those bad ones as far as I'm concerned.
If we're gonna do some controversial things, I'm sorry, but there's some groups that they're overrated.
Spill it.
Rolling Stones,
Rolling Stones has some good stuff.
they do have some good songs, but in my honest opinion, they're kind of overrated. I mean, part of that is a bias that because my dad hates the Rolling Stones, but it's just one of those groups that everybody loves them. Why? There's just some songs and some groups that I feel are more overrated, especially coming up more in today's music. And all of these songs and artists, like for instance, I have no ill will towards the person. I don't remember his name, but he blew up on TikTok for the Whalerman's sea shanty.
I couldn't tell you either.
I don't remember his. It's like Nathan, and because he blew up so much, he got his own record deal. Which, yeah, good, go for him. But so did a lot of other people. And I like the idea that somebody's actually bringing back some of the sea shanties. But I'm sorry, TikTok fame is just like uh, YouTube fame, in my opinion. Look what happened to Justin Bieber. He
You went
blew
off the deep end.
he blew up on YouTube, got his own record deal, and I mean, girls loved him because I don't know why, but just overrated. It's that 5 minutes of fame, and he seems like a nice enough guy when I've listened to a few of his songs. He seems humble, but honestly, I think we put too much emphasis on the 5 minute stars more so than people that actually deserve it.
Holy shit. Inflation's even cutting into how much fame people get. Back in Andy Warhol's day, it was 15 minutes.
I know, right?
Yeah. Any controversial gaming takes?
um, gaming takes that are controversial.
Monopoly sucks.
Monop- Monopoly is a great game if you want to lose friends.
Yeah, other than that, fuck Monopoly.
Yeah, but controversial. I think Clue is probably one of the best board games out there.
I mean, it's a classic for a reason.
hmm But think about it. When was the last time you heard somebody play that say, "Oh yeah, my friends came over and we played Clue"?
Good point.
Like nobody. They have all these different Clue games. Yeah, I don't remember the last time I saw somebody actually buy Clue. My favorite game is Clue. It requires actual thinking, detective work, process of elimination, a little bit of, guesswork. I mean, you actually have to use more of your brain to figure out, who's the killer.
That's the thing, a lot of people don't like to use their brains.
No wonder some of those games now on mobile are so easy.
Ugh, mobile gaming.
Mobile gaming is overrated.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly.
Controversial take. Anybody who watches the podcast knows my love of Pokemon. Pokemon Go is garbage now. That is a controversial hot take, but I'm sorry, it is garbage now. When it first came out, the idea of walking and getting people exercising, great idea. Great idea to make a Pokemon game where you have to go out. Now it is so do this task, and it's just so heavy. And I don't see anybody walking around playing it. I see people driving around, but it's garbage. I'm sorry. It's Pokemon itself is one of those games. I just recently got Red and Blue, so I now have Red, Blue, and Yellow, all for the original Game Boy, and I'm replaying them, and they're they are more difficult than Pokemon games nowadays. I love Pokemon. I always will. I've been playing it for over 25 years now. And I'm sorry, but Pokemon is going to shit. And I hate to say that. There's no challenge in it anymore.
I guess that's why I haven't even been looking into getting oh, what are the newest ones?
Sword and Shield, or no, not Sword. I don't. Scarlet.
Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I like the concept of some of the open world stuff, but I honestly think Sword and Shield ruined Pokemon because they had the DLC thing for it. It was the first Pokemon game that had DLC like that. And I'm sorry, but it's just not fun anymore. And I love Pokemon. I always will, but I'm sorry, it's not the same. There's too many gimmicks. It's too easy to sit there and make a competitive team. It's not fun.
I think the Switch is overrated.
I have a Switch and I barely play it.
Me too.
I'm sorry, for a handheld system, yeah, it's nice. It's got good graphics. I like the idea of some of the things that are coming out with it. Like they're redoing Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. That was just recently announced on the Nintendo Direct, which I've never played the Paper Mario game because I just never got a chance to. I'm actually thinking about getting it and trying it. They're also redoing Mario RPG, which I think that actually might be pretty good. They're remaking it. I've seen gameplay of it, but I kind of want to try it. But that's just more of the I like nostalgia. I like playing more classic games. I not only did I get Red and Blue, I ended up getting a N64. I have now an N64 I can play, and I've been playing Gauntlet Legends lately. I had a friend of mine decide, hey, let's even the playing field and go nothing but rental Pokemon in Pokemon Stadium. You know, Pokemon Stadium, the OG Pokemon Stadium, where it used the original first gen Pokemon. Part of the reason I been playing, my first gen games is so I can make a team for it. Because some of the Pokemon that for the rentals, yeah, they're strong, but the movesets aren't great. Like, why would you put Bubble Beam on a Persian? That that doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, yeah, that friend doesn't want to play that with me anymore. What other controversial hot takes could we do? Do you have any controversial hot takes?
Settlers of Catan is a mainstream board game. In fact, a lot of the ones that started off you could only get in specialty game stores are now mainstream. And I say they're mainstream because you can find them at Walmart,
Yeah,
like Ticket to Ride, Splendor.
I think here's a hot take. Video games have become too prominent and has warped what our expectations of fun are. Now that
Keep
just might be,
talking.
me being old, even though I'm actually not that old, even though my birthday was not that long ago. I think more people should sit down and maybe play some actual board games. Speaking of board games, we should play some board games at some point. I still have some of your board games.
Yeah, you do because I my dad really isn't willing to play many board games, so I keep them here.
Yeah.
You've got Joking Hazard, Trains.
A real controversial hot take. Cards Against Humanity is overrated.
Yeah, I mean, it's just apples to apples with vulgar language.
Yeah,
I mean, George Carlin knew how to pull it off. Cards Against Humanity, it's just going for shock value.
that's how you win in that. And not only that, if you play with the same group with Cards Against Humanity, you learn what those people like. For instance, one of the people I play against, he would be considered racist to some. To me, he just really likes racist jokes. But so do a lot of people. If you play a card that, would make it a racist joke, you're probably going to win with him. That's just a given. So once you learn what each of the same people you play with, how they interact and whatnot, it makes it easy. To just win based off of you play to the czar. There's no real. It's more luck than anything.
Have I ever played Blueprints with you?
I believe so. Yeah.
I honestly think more board games should be more like Blueprints.
What? Where you actually have to think?
Well, not just think, but well, the concept itself is very easy to pick up, yet there's a surprising amount of depth.
Fair. Here's one. And me and you haven't played. I've played a little bit of it, but tabletop RPGs and stuff should not be made into video games. I'm not just taking a stab at Baldur's Gate, which just recently came out. I played a little bit of it, but I've also played Champions of Norath, Dark Alliance, the first two Baldur's Gates. I've played the Pathfinder video games. For an adventure game, they're great, but for the fact of trying to keep it as a more tabletop, which I believe Baldur's Gate 3 is the first one to do of those. It just it takes it more to the fact of the online gaming thing, which is what happened with a lot of people during the 2020 crisis. And I'm sorry, I don't necessarily want to play a Pathfinder or a D&D game on the computer. I mean, I'll play them for the fact of it's an RPG and an adventure game, and I like the sheer number of possibilities, which I got to give it to the people who designed Baldur's Gate 3. That I've seen clips and parts. That's impressive. That really is. But it just it doesn't feel like an actual D&D or Pathfinder campaign.
And I can tell you why. Because tabletop role playing games and video games are two separate types of experiences.
I'm sorry, I don't see where the tangents of just like for the group we play with. We have too much time on our hands, which turns into just nothing but song titles from different genres of music for a good 20 minutes, and we're all sitting there laughing because we just keep egging it on. I don't see that in video games. And that's the part I like most, is the fact of, yeah, we're sitting playing game, but we're there to have fun and escape the dredge of everyday normal life.
So it's the social aspect you like more.
That's the only time I can socialize.
You can't get that with a fucking video game.
And honestly, I don't have people I could play online with. I really don't. I've got maybe one or two people I could play an online game with, but they don't play the same games I do. We
But,
have very little in common when it comes to some of the online games that we play.
I'd like to get a in-person game of Starfinder going where I live, but I don't really know that many people around me.
Yeah. I mean, the other option is you could try and run a game here. I've got some people who are wanting to try Starfinder, but I don't feel comfortable enough to GM it.
I mean, I'm a pretty novice GM myself, but
If you want to try to do a homebrew, I can get the players.
of course, thing is, it's a fairly long drive from my house to yours, and
Yeah.
fuel's expensive.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
So it'll probably only have to be like once a month or something.
And I think that would actually work out, honestly.
I might have to try that.
Well, we could talk about it later.
Well, I because I don't think a virtual tabletop is an adequate substitute for in-person tabletop RPG gaming.
Yeah. That's just one of those things of I think it's more of our age showing. Pretty soon people are going to be saying okay boomer to us.
Yeah, or okay, millennial.
I think they're already doing that to people.
Yeah, but it'll be the kids telling it to us, like,
Mhm.
you have to be in person to play Starfinder,
Back
Pathfinder.
back in my day, we actually rolled the die. We didn't ask Google to.
Okay, millennial.
Mhm.
Back in my day, we actually figured out how to fix our own fucking computer problems. Okay, millennial.
Back in my day, we had to blow on the cartridges to get them to work.
You know that done that. Wait, what's a cartridge?
That, think about it though. Okay, Nintendo went from cartridges to disc, back to cartridges to disc, and now the Switch uses little game cartridges again. I think Nintendo's the only company that's going back and forth between discs and cartridges.
And honestly, like physical media doesn't have that much time left.
Here's a hot take. It is better to buy video games physical than digital.
I don't know how hot that is,
Oh yeah, I think that's a take most people are taking now.
except there's a lot of games that are not available
Yeah,
as
you
on
can't get them
physical
physical.
media.
I think that's an issue people are having right now with a lot of the everything being digital. That's another thing. I remember when you could just say, "Hey, do you by chance have such and such game?" Yeah, here. And just you could actually let people borrow it. You can't do that digitally.
There was a time where you could actually copy games and not have to have special programs to get around copy protection.
Yeah, but I mean still that
There was copy protection,
I
like in
I
the
think
manual. Lens lock.
I
Ugh.
think here's one I think more companies should do. If you are like a paid subscription person, because all the companies have it now. If you have a game digital, I think you should be able to have like a pass per game you buy digital that you could like a 2 or 3 hour pass that you could send to your friend to try a game.
That would actually be a good idea.
So your friend could sit there, try the game, and if they like it, after their trial, basically their trial thing is over, they might buy the game.
And they don't have to wait for
Unless they're a
like,
speedrunner and can beat it in 3 hours, but you can't do that with games nowadays.
well, there are Steam free weekends, but you never know when that's going to happen unless they announce it. Number one, number two, might not happen for certain games.
I'm not just talking about for Steam, because with Steam you could do the family share. But I'm talking about like PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox. Or Microsoft now, because I think Microsoft owns Xbox now.
They always have.
Have they really?
Yes.
Oh.
I remember getting the first Xbox. Even back then, it was the Microsoft Xbox.
Shows you what I know.
Not
How did I become qualified for this podcast? I swear, I know things.
everybody has the same exact set of knowledge.
Yeah. It's why we have our own specialties. When it comes to like Xbox and PC type stuff, that's your specialty.
Yeah,
When it
because
comes to Pokemon, that's my specialty.
you're a living Pokedex.
And I'm working on getting updated.
Yeah, that's the thing with
It's just
neural tissue
hard.
instead of just like NAND flash. It takes a lot longer to update.
Yeah. But they keep adding and making regionals and just I've gotten tired of it. It's not like it used to be. Trying to memorize over 1,000 Pokemon, knowing their types, knowing their weaknesses, and I'm not just talking about, well, it's an electric type, so just use. No, I'm talking about like, oh, this is this Pokemon has a higher physical defense more than a special defense. They are a special attacker. They have a decent like that kind of weakness.
Yeah, you go pretty in depth with that stuff.
hmm And certain Pokemon have their stats changed between games. And I'm not just talking about going from Gen 1 to Gen 2 and the special split. I'm talking about like they actually changed the stats of certain Pokemon from generation to generation. I think the biggest and most well known is the legendary from Sword. I think his name's Zamazen.
Uh, Zamazenta and Zacian.
Yeah. He actually had his stats nerfed because he was just that strong. Like it was like a Gen 1 Mewtwo all over again. Gen 1 Mewtwo was disgusting. It could learn Recover and Amnesia as well as Barrier. Literally, you drop Barrier, all of a sudden now you take half damage from all physical attacks. You use Amnesia, which is basically 2 Calm Minds back to back. By that point, you might have taken enough damage to sit there, recover, and then you just psychic the shit out of it and just sweep. That's all you had to do.
Well, I mean, and back in Gen 1, Psychic had no real counter.
Yeah, it did. It had Bug.
Were there any physical bug attacks in Gen 1?
Bug was physical in Gen 1. Remember, it wasn't the physical special split was came in Gen 4 for certain moves having either being physical or special. But for the first 3 generations, it was based off of the type of move. So the way I remember it, if it's an evolution, it's special. If it's not an evolution, it's physical.
Of course, there are people who believe there should be evolutions of every single type.
Which I think is kind of cool, but at the same time, I think it's kind of stupid because that would throw my entire memorization of it out the window. But no, Bug was there was 3 Bug moves in the game: String Shot,
Lowered speed.
Twin Needle, and Leech Life. Twin Needle having the higher of the power of those moves being 25, and only Beedrill could learn it. That's it.
So you want to go against the first gen Mewtwo with a Beedrill with Twin Needle.
Well, the issue is Beedrill was also part Poison type, which was weak to Psychic. Also, Beedrill has shitty stats.
So there wasn't really a counter to Mewtwo.
Oh, there was. Chansey.
But
Remember, this is all special defense and special attack were one stat. You want to get a Pokemon that's a fuck you? Chansey. Chansey has no defense. She had special. So she was an offensive and special defensive tank. Chansey had a decent special in Gen 1 and had the hit points to boot. So, and could learn defense curl. So, I guess you could defense curl, but any physical move is a one tap. Damn near. But Chansey and Snorlax were your best bet versus
First gen Mewtwo.
Yep. Even Tauros was a beast because in first gen, if you got the KO, you didn't have to recharge on moves like Hyper Beam. So, with Hyper Beam being a physical normal type, Hyper Beam from a Tauros, which I believe had the highest attack among normal types, also gave you stab. It would hurt, and if it got the KO, it didn't recharge. You could just use it again. Another powerful normal type, Persian. Persian with Slash has I think it's like an 87% chance to crit.
Damn.
Yeah.
You are a living Pokedex.
Well, crits in Gen 1 were based off of speed. It's why things like Electrode, who in Gen 1 has the highest attack, had a decent crit range. The issue is Slash has a high crit rate itself. Persian is also, I think, in the top 10 for speed. But Mewtwo was also ridiculously fast. Dugtrio was fast. Scyther had pretty decent speed, but like Misty's Starmie, it's Starmie has is still up there for speed. I think it's like a base speed of 112, 111. It's a fast Pokemon, and it's also part Psychic type. So and had a decent special too. So you could teach it like Bubble Beam and Confusion with Recover and say Minimize. And right there, you have a Starmie that would just shred because you'd minimize, recover, and just you'd have a really strong Pokemon. But that's Gen 1.
Trying to think of any other like gaming hot takes we have.
First-person shooters need to be more realistic.
Of course, I think there are way too many first-person shooters.
That's another hot take.
Third-person. I mean, let's see. Call of Duty has
version. I mean, look at people could say the same thing of there's too many Pokemon in Pokemon games. But let's be honest, pretty sure there's more Call of Duty games than Pokemon.
Yeah. And I mean, how can they change up shooting people?
Easy. By making it to where you have to build again.
Fortnite?
I don't know what you're talking about. I know. Here, make it to where you fight zombies now.
Oh wait, like every single Call of Duty since
the next
Black Ops?
Next thing you're gonna know is Call of Duty in Baldur's Gate, where you're fighting dragons. Actually, low key, that could be entertaining.
Or pretty much just bringing back Heretic, but calling it Call of Duty. What would a medieval Call of Duty be called?
Call of Duty Renaissance?
The quest for even more money.
Hey, let's not bash them too hard. People might get mad and blame us, and hey, if they email us though, then we'd still be getting emails now, wouldn't we?
Yeah, it'd still be engagement.
Haha! Tricks on all of y'all.
Mid-roll time. If you have any comments on these hot takes, send them to gamersperience@gmail.com, all lowercase, spelled the same as the podcast, or as a direct message on X, the new Twitter, @gamersperience, again all lowercase. I have yet another take that may or may not be hot. The Sonic series has not done well in its transition to 3D. Adventure sucked, Heroes was bad. I don't think I need to bring up the Sonic 2006 pile, but I don't believe a 3D Sonic game will ever be good. Now here's some more takes.
Here's one. Instead of hot takes, games that should be remade and upgraded. Pokemon Ranger. The Ranger games specifically. I'm sorry. They were pretty good. I think that they need to be remade. Although I've been asking for Gauntlet Legends to be remade for a long time, but now I have it.
Einhander.
I'm sorry?
Einhander. It's a game from Square Enix, back then Squaresoft, for the PS1. It was a 2D side-scrolling shooter in a 3-dimensional environment.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome, even though I couldn't really get past the third boss.
So, here's my question. Should game companies focus on making new games, upgrading old games, or should they make new games for better less less mainstream series.
Well, that's the thing, because there's only so many game concepts.
I'm sorry. Metroid, was it Dread? I think it was. The last Metroid game that came out for the Switch.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I would have much rather have seen Prime 4.
I mean, some games are great. You should remake them and enhance them, give them expansions, but make sure those expansions are good and actually make the game better.
Well, here's the other hot take for that. Is redoing games there to target the new audience or just to make the veterans and those that want it for nostalgia to spend more money?
That's a really good question.
Let's be honest. For me, probably more of a cash grab at, someone who prefers nostalgia.
Well, I'm going to be a bit optimistic and say that remaking old games could bring in a new audience, especially if those who have played it before that probably have kids get it and show their kids.
I think Donkey Kong N64, if it got remade and you could play it online with other people, because it was multiplayer. If you could play it online with your friends or something, or just have it on there, I think it could do really well. Update the graphics and the controls.
Yeah, probably have the same studio remake it that did Donkey Kong, the new Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country Deep Freeze.
Well, they're making another Donkey Kong Country.
Wonder if they'll make it as hard as like the original three Donkey Kong countries for Super Nintendo.
I think they are.
Yeah, because apparently Donkey Kong Country was like the Dark Souls of its day in terms of difficulty.
There, so in all actuality, I think it wasn't necessarily that hard. It's the fact of the limitations and the controls because you didn't have as pinpoint turn radius. Just some of the controls weren't as crisp as they are today. I think that's why some of the older games are harder, more so than actual difficulty. And let's be honest, look at the people who are playing them. They are now our age. They are the original generation of hardcore video gamers. Back then, nobody knew what they were doing. If we were to play those now, would we have as much trouble as we did back then?
Well, depends on whether the difficulty was real or fake.
For me, I remember constantly dying in Gauntlet Legends. Constantly. Now that I'm playing it again, now that I'm older, it's just like, why was I having such a hard time with this? I've died once, and that's because I didn't move over fast enough from the boss attack in Gauntlet Legends, because I fought the dragon. It's like, oh yeah, finding the items, that it tells me I should probably find, make it a little bit easier and, not a pain in the ass. It's just one of those things of, I remember constantly dying. When I originally played Gauntlet Legends, I never got the Halo. Never. That's my goal, is to get the Halo.
Apparently, in the original Gauntlet, if like an item came up, like an item of food or something, the ranged attacker could actually destroy it before like the warrior got to it.
Yep.
That was a real dick move.
Well, here for Gauntlet Legends, there's no healing potion. You can't just go to the healing station and heal. If you want to get your health back, you either have to buy more health, and all that does is increase your max health, or you have to go through the same level hoping to not get hit and find the food, which heals you 50 if it's fruit and 100 if it's meat. The best place is the very first level. You get about 4 to 500 health each run. And when you have like 6,000 hit points, that's not necessarily a quick and easy task. Especially if you're less than 1,000, you have to do that multiple times. I'm sorry, that's a real grind. I think that's the kind of difficulty certain games nowadays should have. You want to heal? Great, you got to find the food to heal yourself, and it's a grind to do so.
Yeah.
Imagine that in Dark Souls.
Of course, I don't know that much about Dark Souls.
Okay. For any of you modders out there, if you ever listen, if y'all could make a mod for Dark Souls where there's a chance that enemies you kill have a chance of dropping things to heal you, you have to find those to heal. You don't get healing flasks anymore. That's how you have to heal now. I want to see that as a mod. I want to see some of the YouTubers I watch who play some of the Dark Souls mods, I want to see them do that challenge. Dark Souls, but with Gauntlet Legends healing factor. I'm sorry, you don't get to heal at that rested bonfire. That's just a save point. You want your stats, you have to go and grind to heal yourself.
So the hot take is that games are too easy now.
Some of the healing mechanics and some of the newer games don't they don't hit as hard. In some of the older games, when you're low on health and you have to grind for certain things like that, you were more cautious of what you did. Now, oh, I have 9 healing packs. Let's just run in guns blazing.
Leroy Jenkins.
I'm sorry, I don't know who Leroy Jenkins is. If we could ever find Leroy Jenkins and actually get him on a podcast, that'd be kind of cool. I
Yeah.
want to know what possessed him to do that. Like seriously, what made him just yell that and just charge straight in? Like
Yeah.
seriously.
The reason behind the meme, that would be really interesting.
It's not a meme, it is a legend. He is a legend. He will be forever remembered as the man who decided to YOLO. He was the first person to YOLO.
He was YOLOing before YOLO was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking legend.
Yep. And nobody will come close to doing that. That's the difference with the legends of old versus today's supposed legends. Everybody's going to know who Leroy Jenkins, the feat of Leroy Jenkins was. Everybody's going to know the threat and terror by just the sheer mention of the Bismarck, or at least those that are educated. There's just some things that you can't. They are legends and will remain legends because of what they did at the time. And with times changing, nobody's going to be impressed if you try to pull a Leroy Jenkins. They're like, stop trying to pull a Leroy. That's essentially what it's going to be.
Of course, it reminds me of a line from Sandlot. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die.
And that Leroy Jenkins is a legend. He will never die. That's just one of those things that just I think right lately I've been missing the past more than anything. Like I'd love to play Baldur's Gate, but at the same time, kind of want to play Pokemon Yellow. I'm sorry, but that right there shows how much a good classic game has. If you would rather play a classic game than a brand new one that came out. And people today, they just keep going from new game to new game to new game. I don't know anybody who's just like, I miss, playing on my old PS2. I feel like playing, Sly Cooper on the PS2 or SmackDown versus Raw 2000 whatever for the PS2 or PS1 or pulling out their Sega Genesis or asking their I don't hear anybody else doing that.
Yeah, I'd rather play Sonic 3 and Knuckles, put the Sonic 3 cart into the Sonic and Knuckles cart, put it into a Genesis.
Mhm. I mean there's people who do challenges of them or people that run emulators, but it's people are either too hung up on all these new games, new graphics, and then they look at the old stuff and they're just like, why did we ever play that? What's wrong with nostalgia? Is that just something that old people have, is nostalgia for the old classics?
I think if gaming is going to have a good future, we need to take a step back and look at gaming's past.
No? What is today's new game that's gonna be a cult classic?
Factorio.
How old is it?
I don't know. Let me look that up.
But seriously, think about that. All right. If you say N64, all right, most of the time everybody thinks of Donkey Kong, Pokemon, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers. People instantly say that. You say PS4, and you're like, yeah, what about it? Nobody has that like nostalgia or that, oh, these are some of the great classics of the N64. Everybody knows those. What are the classics of the PS2 or the PS3 or PS4 or the Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox X now?
Series X, but I think that's something only time will be able to answer. And Factorio was announced on an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign in 2013.
Wow. Here's the classic of the PS3, Skyrim.
And the PS4 and the
PS5,
PS5
the
and the
Switch, the PC, the
X
Xbox.
Xbox
Maybe that's what
360,
Todd Howard's
Xbox
trying to do.
One.
He's not trying to grab money. He's trying to make a game be remembered. And let's be honest, I think everybody's going to remember Skyrim. I think that's going to be the one game that everybody is going to remember in like 15, 20 years.
Another reason I believe everybody's going to remember Skyrim because it will be the last Elder Scrolls game ever made.
No, they're working on it.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Same,
There's test footage and everything.
they
They,
can.
they are making the next one. It should be out within the next decade after they re-release Skyrim for the umpteenth time. I think we need 5 more versions of Skyrim before the next Elder Scrolls comes out.
But it can also become another Duke Nukem Forever. And same as Grand Theft Auto 6, as far as I'm concerned, they're both vaporware. Just like Half-Life 2 Episode 3, Team Fortress 3, and Portal 3. Because apparently Valve cannot count to 3.
Are those all made by Valve?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, maybe it's should we send Valve a video from Sesame Street to help them count to 3? Maybe it's just they don't have the funding, or they're worried that the third one's just not gonna live up to 1 and 2. Because let's be honest, Borderlands 1, great. Borderlands 2, phenomenal. The pre-sequel, it was okay. I liked the gimmick. It was kind of what was needed between 1 and 2 for the fact of it tells a story in between. Borderlands 3, I'm sorry, is garbage.
I can understand not having a
It did not live to that hype.
I mean, I can understand not making a Portal 3 because, I mean, Portal 1, they just used the portals. Portal 2, they had the gels and old aperture. What the fuck are you going to do for Portal 3?
Easy. Add some new weird gimmick, like mega portals. And then after that, dino portals. As I'm taking a jab at mega evolving and dino maxing. Here's one. Nobody remembers Z moves. I'm sorry, that was stupid. Z moves were stupid. I'm sorry.
What the fuck are Z moves?
Basically overpowered one-time use moves that your Pokemon could learn if it was holding an item. Similar to Mega Evolution, except it was with one move. Yeah, I'm sorry. I understand Mega Evolving hurts the Pokemon and that's inhumane, but I'm sorry, shall we talk about how fucked up Pokemon are? You want to tell me we're being inhumane to Pokemon, yet there's a Pokemon that literally, it itself is hotter than our sun?
Slugma?
Macargo.
Oh, it's evolution.
I'm sorry, but how about the fact that in the show, Max picks up a Munchlax. Max is not even 10, and he picks up a Munchlax. Do you know how much Munchlax weighs?
About a couple tons.
260 plus pounds.
Okay.
Munchlax weighs more than I do, and I believe Max is like 7 or 8. Just picks him up and carries him. I'm sorry, what?
That must have been an emaciated Munchlax.
No, people had to watch their food because that Munchlax kept eating. Even on the lighter side, the lightest Munchlax goes, I think, is like 240. That's still a 7-year-old just casually carrying a
He's taking steroids.
Like, seriously. I mean, I get that it's not supposed to be humane, but at what point is Pokemon been humane? Literally, the entire gimmick of Pokemon is we take these creatures, domesticate them, train them, and make them fight each other.
And I think that's probably going to be the last hot take of this episode.
I'm sorry, I understand PETA's aspect of it, but you can't use that as the argument for no more megas. It's just one of those things that just, no.
Get in? Okay. Get around.
That's good. I've got one more Pokemon hot take.
Okay.
And this is for the Scarlet and Violet. I don't think it's actually a hot take. I think there's a lot of people that want this. If you're going to be bringing in ancient Pokemon, show us what the fossil Pokemon actually look like. the Omni, Amistar, Kabuto, Kabutops, Aerodactyl, Redilly, Cranidos, just like all the fossil Pokemon. Show us their real, unfossilized states.
Okay.
I think that would be awesome.
And I think that will do it for our episode of all these hot takes.
Yeah, hot take rambling. Maybe that'll be the episode name.
And again, if you agree or disagree with these hot takes, go ahead and send us a message at gamersperience@gmail.com or on the X formerly known as Twitter at gamersperience. Our direct messages are open. I'm not much 23.
And I'm ChoasAssassin.
And this was Gamer Experience.
We invite you to have your own gamer experience.